It was your first date.
He was talking shit.
I don't know if I'm more mad that you got into a fight or that you lost.
Emmett, look, it doesn't matter what anyone says to you. You don't have the right to put your hands on
He
them.
was gonna hit me.
Then you tell the teacher.
Oh, don't teach him to be a snitch, Keisha.
I ain't letting nobody punk me.
What you gonna do if I punk you?
Bakari might not be walking out of this episode the same way he walked in. That's not me being dramatic. That's literally what this trailer is showing us. Len is scared, gunshots are going off, and somebody in this story is about to pay for everything that's been building up all season long. So if you've been riding with me, stick around. Because I'm about to break down exactly what I think is coming in the Chi Season 8, Episode 5, and trust me, this one is going to be heavy. All right, let's get straight into it because this episode is called The Dead of Winter. And honestly, that title alone is telling us something bad is about to happen. The description for this episode lets us know that Ray is making a cold-hearted move for a quick payday. And at the same time, Bari is reaching out trying to fix things with Len, trying to soften that cold shoulder she's been giving him. So right away, we know two things are happening at once. Somebody is about to get hurt because of money, and somebody is about to risk everything trying to fix a relationship that might already be too far gone. You know what I'm saying? This is the kind of setup that usually ends in tears. And based off everything we've seen leading up to this point, I don't think this episode is going to be any different. Let's start with Knuck and Tiffany, because at the end of last episode, Tiffany wanted answers. She wanted to know exactly what Barry was talking about when he said everybody is about to find out what Knuck has done. Now, knowing Knuck the way we know him, I fully expect him to lie again. Lying is basically his first language at this point, and every time something gets close to the truth, he finds a way to twist it or shut it down completely. But here's the thing, I don't think he's going to be able to keep getting away with it. I believe somebody, whether it's Len or maybe even Kenya, ends up giving Tiffany that audio everybody's been talking about. And once she hears that audio with her own ears, there's no more lying his way out of it. His luck has been running on fumes for a while now, and I think this episode might finally be where it catches up to him. I'm hoping it happens here because honestly, we've all been waiting for Knuck to get exposed for way too long. Now let's talk about Amit and Devante, because this is a situation that's only getting worse the longer it gets ignored. Based off the trailer, Emmett is going to have some kind of issue with Devante, and from what it looks like, Devante might be involved with OnlyFans or something similar, and Emmett is going to be furious about it. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Emmett needs to sit down and actually talk to this kid, because if he keeps avoiding the conversation, Devante is just going to keep spiraling. Emmett already said he doesn't really want to deal with it, but avoiding it isn't going to make it disappear. And Kesha already warned him about this too. She's basically telling him the same thing, that he needs to step up and talk to his son before history repeats itself. Because let's be real, Emmett's own father was out here having kids left and right at a young age, and Emmett himself followed that same path. So if he doesn't break that cycle now, Devante could end up walking the exact same road. I really hope Emmett finally has that real conversation in this episode, because the longer he waits, the more damage gets done. Now on to Jake and Rijay, because this is a storyline that keeps building tension every single episode. Based off the trailer, Jake is once again getting fed up with Reggae, and this time it's specifically about Bari. Bari keeps wanting to work with Reggae, and he's not backing down from that, but Jake clearly does not want that connection continuing. So we already know there's going to be friction between Jake and Barry because of this. At the same time, Ray is supposedly making a cold-hearted move, and the big question is who that move is going to affect. Could it hit Jake directly? Could it hit someone close to him? We don't know yet, but what we do know is that Jake wants to stop his brother, and Victor wants to stop him too. At some point, somebody has to find a way to actually neutralize Reggae, because if they don't, he's just going to keep being a problem for absolutely everybody involved. This isn't a situation that's going to fix itself, and I think this episode pushes that storyline a lot closer to a breaking point. Now let's get into Victor and Len, because this is where things start getting really tense. We already know from the trailer that Len is going to tell Victor she's scared, and most likely she's going to bring up Knuck's name when she says it. Or maybe she's too afraid to even say his name out loud. Either way, if Knuck's name comes up in that conversation, we already know how Victor is going to react. He doesn't trust Knuck at all, and he's already confronted him before about what happened to Alicia. So if Len gives him even a hint that Knuck might be involved in something else, Victor is not going to let that slide. I also think this leads into a conversation between Victor and Tiffany, because at some point, somebody has to make a move against Knuck. And if Len keeps bringing his name up, that puts her in a dangerous position too. This is actually one of the reasons I believe Knuck, or maybe even Rafi, ends up making a move on Bari, or possibly even on Len herself. Something is bound to happen here, and I don't think it's going to be good. And now, the part everybody's really waiting on, Bakari and Len. We already know Bari is trying to fix things with her. She's scared, and he's telling her that he's got her, that he's going to protect her no matter what. But protecting her could mean putting his own life on the line, and based off how this season has gone, that's exactly the kind of risk Barry seems willing to take. We hear gunshots in the trailer, and we see Len looking out the window like she's terrified of what's happening outside. So the real question becomes, does Bakari get hit? Or is it somebody else who ends up getting shot? Or maybe, just maybe, the shooter misses completely. This is episode 5, and it's the mid-season finale, which means the writers are going to want to leave us hanging with something big. My gut feeling is that if somebody does get shot, it's probably Bari, but I don't think he dies from it. There's also a chance Barry is the one pulling the trigger instead of being the victim. But based on the way he's been moving lately, taking risks, making enemies, putting himself in dangerous situations, I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's the one who ends up hit. What worries me the most, though, is his sister. I said this in my last video, and I'll say it again. I really hope Jamal is nowhere near him when this goes down. Jamal has been trying to rebuild her life, trying to move forward and stay out of trouble, and the last thing she needs is to get caught up in Barry's mess. Because if she's anywhere close to him when things go wrong, this could turn into something a lot more tragic than just a close call. Barry has made mistake after mistake this entire season, and at some point those choices were always going to catch up to him. Knuck and Rafi are out here looking for revenge. And the question is whether they finally get it in this episode, or whether Barry somehow manages to slip through again like he always does. There's also the Kesha and Riley situation that I think gets touched on in this episode. We already know Kesha and Emmett both want to propose to each other, but neither one has actually done it yet, and that's been hanging over them for a while now. I wouldn't be surprised if Kesha brings this up with Riley, maybe asking for advice or just venting about why she hasn't pulled the trigger yet. The real question is who actually proposes first, because at this point it almost feels like a competition between the two of them without either one saying it out loud. I do think Kesha has some concerns, though, maybe about timing, maybe about everything else going on with Devontae, and that could be exactly why she's holding back. And speaking of Devontae, I think Darnell ends up having a conversation with Emmett too, possibly about that same proposal situation, maybe even pushing him to stop waiting and just do it already. Sometimes it takes somebody on the outside looking in to tell you what you already know deep down. We also can't forget about Amaya and Patience, who've been building a nice little dynamic this season. I expect we see more of that bond growing, especially with everybody gathering at Emma and Kesha's place. These moments of everybody being together, the kids running around, Darnell cracking jokes, everyone just enjoying each other's company, almost feel like the calm before the storm. Shows like this love to give you a peaceful family moment right before flipping everything upside down, and with this being the mid-season finale, I have a feeling that's exactly what's happening here. Enjoy those good vibes while they last, because I don't think they're sticking around much longer once the second half of this episode kicks in. Now back to the heart of this episode. Bakari and Len, because this is where I think everything comes to a head. Barry telling Len that he's got her isn't just a comforting line. It's basically him putting himself directly in the path of danger. He knows what's coming, or at least he suspects it, and he's choosing to stand in front of it anyway. That tells you everything about where his head is at right now. He's not thinking about himself anymore, he's thinking about protecting her, even if that means taking a bullet that wasn't meant for him in the first place. And that's what makes this so nerve-wracking, because Barry has spent this entire season making one risky decision after another, and now all of those decisions are circling back around at the worst possible time. When you hear those